All right. Happy Friday, my friends. Look who we got. Someone decided to make an appearance right out of the gate. You know what that means. Cheers, guys. Now, Peanut is not very happy with me right now. He was sitting in my desk chair and I had to give him the boot because I needed it to be here with you guys. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another Dividend Happy Hour. What a week. What a week it was on the stock market. Do me a favor real quick. All 50 of you guys, just drop me an emoji, any emoji in the live chat. Let me know if you're at an all-time high. If you drop an emoji, that means your portfolio is at an all-time high. Here, I'm going to drop one right there myself. Let's go. Boom. There we go. Let me know in the chat. Good week. Good week. Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, normal stream tonight. We're going to go a full hour. Look at all those emojis. Holy cannoli. Holy cannoli. There we go. I love to see it. Love to see it, Nico. I like your dancing man there. El Patron, like the rocket ship. There we go. Very nice. Look at that. Yeah, fantastic week, guys. Fantastic week. Let me jump over real quick to my handy dandy dividend portfolio tracking spreadsheet, which you can start using for free. There's a link to download the spreadsheet in the description of the video. Show you where I'm at real quick. So today we're up about, just under $600. Yesterday was a crazy day. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday that I was up. I don't know. It was like $1,200 or $1,300. It was very nice. But as you can see right now, the portfolio is sitting at $123,300. So quite a big jump this week. And actually, I'm glad we're looking at this because the annual dividend income, if you guys use this spreadsheet, I'm sure you will notice this if you haven't already. Some of the annual dividend income, some of the cells in this column, are going to be on the fritz. It's happening again. If you use the spreadsheet, you'll know this happens from time to time. So don't be surprised if you check your spreadsheet and it's a little bit on the fritz, but it'll correct itself. So with that said, this number right here, this 3,800, not accurate. We actually, according to the spreadsheet, crossed $4,100 in dividend income, projected annual income, earlier this week. So that was cool. What else, guys? Why don't we kick this thing off the best way we know how? Grab whatever it is you're sipping on. Personally speaking, I got a little cup of Joe. So yeah, grab whatever it is you're sipping on and cheers. Here's to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for another happy hour. And here's to the dividends, obviously. Here's to the pursuit of that sweet, sweet cash flow, because that's really what's bringing us all together tonight. So cheers. Ooh. Very, very, very nice. Okay. Let me know a few things here in the chat. I know we've got some all-time highs, but I want to know, guys, number one, what did you buy this week? What did you add to your portfolio? Personally speaking, picked up a little bit of Procter & Gamble myself. Let me know that. Number two, I want to know, what are you drinking tonight? What did you bring to drink to the dividend happy hour? I think Korean Cardboard, I think you usually have like a coffee or something during the stream, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. Let me know what you're sipping on. Number three, aside from all-time highs, did anything else cool happen in your portfolio this week? I want to hear about that in the chat. And number four, I want to know if we got any first-timers here to the Dividend Happy Hour. In case we do, welcome aboard. I'm stoked to see you here in the live stream. And we do this live stream every Friday night, starting like now at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Normal week. It's always a good time too. So hope you enjoy it. So let me jump back over to the chat here and see what we got. Who's got what to say? Let's see. And thank all of you guys for tuning in and hanging out with me tonight. Also, drop any investing questions that you guys have, any stocks you want to go through, drop them here in the chat. We'll get to them as well. So David here, we'll start with him. Drinking a lemonade, bought some SCHD, Mid-America Apartments, and Triple N, which is it's a triple net. What's the company actually called? I know it's a triple net lease. It's NNN REIT. Okay, nice. Korean Cardboard, best car. Okay, talking about cards. I don't know what that's about. Nico said dividends at an all-time high too. Finally hit $300 per month. Man, congratulations, $3,600. That's a huge milestone. $300 per month without having to lift a finger. Now, obviously, you're not going to retire off that, but man, $300 can pay for quite a few bills. So keep up the good work. Let's see. Shannon here didn't buy anything, so to speak. Converted some 457 stocks to SPYI. Added about $1,100 to the annual income. Nice. What is this in reference to, Tony? The REITs formula? What's that in reference to? Let's see. Rui bought McDonald's and JP Morgan. There you go. Ooh, one of the Alani News, the cherry bomb. That's a good flavor, man. Good choice. Let's see. There we go. Mr. Rottweiler bought 478 shares of Procter & Gamble. Yeah, on sale in a great business at 5-year lows along with Pepsi. Yeah, I haven't looked at Pepsi for a while. Last I remember, the free cash flow payout ratio was a bit questionable, and that had me concerned. I'm looking at it. Actually, if we jump back over to the screen, looking at Snapstock now, which is also in the description if you want to start using this. But in the trailing 12 months, the earnings payout ratio is still over 100%. Looks like the free cash flow payout ratio came down. Let's look at this on a quarterly view. So yeah, some of these quarters, the free cash flow payout ratio is quite high, but based on this, it looks like Q2 for them is typically a high. Q1 is usually negative, like it doesn't look like they're bringing in free cash flow or losing free cash flow there. So I don't know. Pepsi, we'll see about Pepsi. But like I said, last I checked, the dividend coverage was getting a bit questionable. And I hope they don't end up cutting it because they're a dividend king. They've been growing this thing for a long time. And I'm sure that there's still a long ways to go before they ultimately slash the dividend. But I really like Pepsi. Really like Pepsi. I really like the Hershey company, actually. Really like them. I would say that of all those kinds of companies between Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Mondelez, Hershey Company, General Mills, I think the Hershey Company is one of my favorites. Oh, Vasco loaded the boat on Vici. Nice move. Very nice move. Yes, Sir Dude Man bought some Pepsi for the first time, not buying your usual. No Broadcom, huh? Oh, yeah. So good. All right, let's keep going. Patrick, Coke Zero, good move. Big Vici bias this week, yeah. Holy cow, $303,000 in the portfolio, past 70K in lifetime dividends. That's unreal. Good job. Good job. Okay, I thought I was going crazy for a second because I keep seeing the same comment from King Rottweiler. I see it 3 times. I thought I was going crazy for a sec. Korean Cardboard bought some SEHD. Anders here with a big move. So $1,200 into SGov, $200 into Realty Income, $100 into Mid-America, $8,600 ready for the Roth IRA backdoor conversion. Cool. Crashed a few servers. There you go. Diet Coke is always good move. Yeah. Okay. Jay picked up some EPR, loused some Consolidated Edison, COP, and NextEra. Nice. Ooh, there we go. Chilling on the beach in Hawaii with a Kona. Man, that is a great way to spend a Friday. Jealous. Matt, good to see you, man. Bought $6,500 in Vici last week. Wow. And Procter & Gamble this week. Nice. Yeah, no need to apologize, man. No need to apologize at all. Cheers. Here's to you. Okay. Jared, glass of wine, bought some SHD and started a small position in Allison Transmission, which we looked up last week. That was a really cool business. So good move, and added a small amount to some Bitcoin. Nice. Yeah, what do you think about Equinix? I know it's a REIT, right? What exactly? I need to look up the business again to. Okay, here, let's jump over. I want to go to their website. Well, first, let's just go down to the description. So yeah, data center REIT. I like that. Yeah. I don't know. I like the idea of data center REITs. The only one that I The one that I'm primarily familiar with is DLR, Digital Realty Trust. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of investing in data centers. I think that's a great way to get some exposure to this space. Um, Investor relations, that's what I want to look at. I want to see if they have an investor presentation real quick. So earnings release, earnings presentation. Maybe this will have what we're looking for. So let's pull this up. Yeah, I want to see if we can get an idea of all their different properties. Don't want that. I want like a map or something, just something that gives a breakdown of their portfolio. Yeah, well, okay. Looking at this while we're talking about the dividend, really nice payout ratio. Dividend is very well covered, so that's a great sign. Here we go. Okay, so let's zoom in on this a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So they've got properties all over 36 countries, 77 markets, 273 data centers, 96% renewable energy coverage. Well, that's cool. Wow, this is cool. I like this. Yeah, and so top 10 customers. I mean, it's pretty well diversified. Like their biggest customer only makes up 2.6% of the revenue. Yeah, so I think this looks pretty solid. Let's look at the dividend stats. Yeah, nice dividend stats. Classic dividend growth stats. So I like this one. I like it. On the surface, I like it. What do you guys think about data center REITs in general, though? Let me know what you guys think. Let's see. Jay sipping on a cappuccino. Delicious. Very nice. Okay, I lost my place here in the chat. Let me scroll back up here. Sorry, guys. Okay, I went too far back now. I'm not sure what you're referring to with this, Tony. To be honest, the REIT formula on the spreadsheet. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Okay, so here we go. I got caught up now. I'm like 7 minutes behind in the chat, guys. I keep seeing King Rottweiler. You keep dropping this comment, man. I've seen this comment like 10 times in the chat. Unless it's a glitch, but I've seen this comment like 10 times in the chat, and I addressed it. There you go, Lod. So didn't buy anything. However, I did make a good payment to my debt. Nice move. Good job. Yeah, this is a good question. Thoughts on QQQI? Yeah, so as far as covered call ETFs go, which I'm generally, I don't want to, I almost said I'm not a fan of covered call ETFs, but for me personally, they're not something I have much of an interest in putting money in at this point. I'm more partial to normal companies that where the cash flow is derived from like, generating sales and profits and free cash flow and using that to pay dividends. For me, it's just more straightforward, and that's why I tend to avoid covered call ETFs. But I think ones like QQQI, SPYI, I think those are fine. I think that those are a bit more tame than a lot of the other covered call ETFs out there, and they're more straightforward in terms of their strategy. So I don't really have an issue if someone wanted to own covered call ETFs. I think that something like QQQI would be a good one to consider, just because it's not super. I don't want to say it's not super complex or complicated, but in relation to a lot of the other covered call ETFs out there, or other derivative based funds, I think that this one is more straightforward. Thoughts on CME? CME Group is I know the company. I don't entirely remember what they do. We'll check them out though. So let me save this one, Joe. We'll circle back to this. Okay, look at ECL. I saw their cleaning products at my local McDonald's. ECL, I don't know that I'm familiar with this one. Ecolab. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll check out Ecolab. Ecolab's a great business. From what I remember, at least. Yeah, we'll check it out. Okay. It's not the financials or the charts on Snapstock aren't as good as I remember them being. They're not bad though. So Oh, Dylan. Cheers. Thank you, my friend. I'm honored to hear that. I feel the same. The feeling is mutual. Mike with some nice pickups, SCHD, Procter and Gamble, and some Zoetis, very nice. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. Seeing Zoetis, kind of funny. Seeing Zoetis made me think of this, and this isn't going to make sense on the surface, but seeing Zoetis made me think of something I wanted to tell you guys about Watsco, and all the connection there is both of them are new positions in my newer positions. So I saw Zoetis, I thought new position, then my mind went to Watsco. Hopefully that makes sense. But I wanted to show you guys I'm officially back in the green on Watsco as of today or these last couple of days. Today was a really solid day of performance. It's been a great week for Watsco, but now I'm officially back up about 3%, including dividends. So that was some good news from this week. And I'm happy to see this one now kind of going back up because it's gotten to be, I mean, it's 9.5% of the taxable account right now. This is my largest individual stock position. And so I'm kind of ready for it to start going back up in share price. I don't feel like I need to add anymore. So I'm okay seeing it go. Oh, King Rottweiler. Okay. Sorry, it got stuck. Yeah, no problem. That's funny. Okay, let's keep going. Hmm. So, okay. Says Vici has a 47-cent dividend and Realty Income 45-cent annual dividend. Not over on my spreadsheet. I don't know if maybe you have an older version that's using a different formula, which is totally possible. But this is what it shows on my spreadsheet. It shows Realty Income, $3.22 for their annual dividend, and Vici at $1.76. So I'm guessing you just have an older spreadsheet. If you want, send me an email at ryan@retirewithryan.com, and I can give you the most updated version of the spreadsheet so your numbers aren't all screwy. Yeah, this is a good question too. So Dylan says, I'm putting $250 a week into my portfolio. I'm 23 years old. Am I doing too much? A little under 50% of my weekly check. Not at all, my friend. If you $250 a week at 23 years old is very impressive. So round of applause for you there. And I think, the general rule of thumb, you'll know it's too much if you'll just kind of feel it. The general rule of thumb is to only invest the amount that you feel comfortable with. And obviously, like, don't sell a kidney or anything to put money into your portfolio. But if you feel like, you can put $250 a week into your portfolio comfortably and still have enough money left for your other expenses, then yeah, I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. So keep up the good work. This is a great question too. What dividend exposure would you recommend to a 24-year-old? I don't know that I have a this is a I'm going to screenshot this question because I think this would be a good one to bring up in a future video or newsletter. So, where do I want to start with this? Let me think for just a second. Sorry, guys. So, I think that this question is maybe being asked in the context of, dividends versus growth, right? Like, how much dividend exposure should I have versus the growth exposure that I should have at 24 years old? And this kind of thing gets brought up a lot. It's a really good question. It's a really common question. But it's if I'm correct, and that's kind of the lens that this question is asked through, it's attached to that is an idea that dividends and growth are mutually exclusive. And like, you can't have both. Like, they're separate parts of your portfolio. You've got a growth section, you've got a dividend section, and they don't commingle at all. If that's at all intertwined in this question or part of this question at all, if there's something in there, I would remove it. I would ditch the idea that you have to choose between dividends and growth. It's just not true. There are plenty of companies out there that both grow and also pay dividends. And in my opinion, those are the best ones that you can invest in. Those are the kind that I personally try to invest in. And so that's what I would suggest. At the end of the day, you should just seek to invest in companies that are growing and have the capacity to grow, at least from what you can tell, over an extended period of time. And then you just buy them and hold on to them and let time take care of the rest. Now, whether or not those companies pay a dividend, whether or not that's something that's imperative to you, is totally preferential. You can buy, like, there's plenty of great companies out there that do not pay dividends. And so I just think that's something you need to ask yourself. How important is that cash flow component to me as an investor? Personally speaking, it is important to me. And so that's why all of the companies that I own pay a dividend. But all of the companies that I own are still growing, albeit at different, rates. Like Williams Sonoma is certainly growing at a different rate than Procter and Gamble. AbbVie certainly growing at a different rate than, Realty Income. And I know one's a REIT, one's not, but you get what I'm trying to say. So I think the question here is, or I think the answer to this question rather is, it just depends. I don't know that there's a strict percentage that you need to allocate specifically to dividend payers. I think more so what you need to ask yourself is, how important is the dividend to me? Because then from there, you can decide to either make it like an imperative part of your investment criteria or not. So, and personally speaking, like I was saying, it's important for me to invest in growing companies that I feel like have the capacity to continue to grow for a long period of time. And that also pay dividends. So I'm not looking for a particular type of dividend yield or dividend growth rate. They kind of are in different, on different parts of the yield and growth spectrum across my portfolio. And so it all works out in the end. But what's important to me is just that they pay a dividend. But like I said, it's not imperative. Hopefully that made sense. I was kind of talking in circles a little bit there at the end, but hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Do you have an opinion on EQR? Equity residential? No, but we can, Tony, we can check it out. We'll save that one. I'll circle back to that. Let me get caught up here in the chat. I'm quite a bit behind, guys, so I apologize if I skip over some of your questions. This is actually another good one too, though. So, how much Vici is too much? I don't know specifically about Vici, but I think a better question to ask, and this is going to be different for everyone, is how much concentration in one position is too much. And for me, I kind of try to cap it at about 10%. Either way, like a company being 10% weighting in the portfolio as far as like the market value, the dollars invested, and or 10% of the portfolio's overall income. That's kind of my cap on either side. And actually, Vici in my portfolio is getting pretty close, at least in terms of income. It's getting pretty close to being 10% of my taxable accounts income. So it's getting to be a bit up there. Okay. Let's keep going. And once again, guys, I apologize if I skip over some of your comments. Okay, so now I'm at the part in the chat, about 10 minutes behind now, where you guys are talking about data centers. I wanted to read some of these. So Anders here said, I think long-term investing data centers will be needed regardless of AI bust or whatever. Data grows fast. Yeah, that's true. There's definitely some long-term tailwinds, AI or not. Jared says, I think data center REITs are a great long time play. However, they've outperformed the rest of the REIT space for sure. So maybe you're waiting for a bit more of a pullback, perhaps. Let's see. Okay, Signet Jewelers, SIG. I can't say I've heard of this company. We'll take a look, though. We'll take a look at them. I'll save this one. I'll come back to it. Yeah, Miguel, do you own any ETFs in your taxable account? No, I don't. The ETFs are just in my Roth IRA, and it's VOO and SCHD. All right. Oh, Joey's right there, man. Monday. You just need one good day on Monday and you're there, man. Congratulations in advance. Okay. Sorry, Patrick. I could have saved you a kidney. My bad, man. Okay. Almost caught up, guys. Just a couple minutes behind. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really have a serious opinion about JEPQ. I was kind of saying this earlier in the stream, but covered call ETFs in general, I tend to stay away from. I used to own JEPI in my portfolio for a little while. JEPI, not JEPQ. But I ended up selling out of it. You know, they're just at this point in time, they're not really my cup of tea. Let's say that hypothetically, though, let's say someday I'm like, down the road, let's say I've got $300,000, I got $500,000, and I'm just sick of it, guys. I just want to just start living off the dividend income today, right now. Well, it's kind of interesting to think if you've got like a $300,000 portfolio at a 10% yield. I don't know what JEPQ's yield is right now. Maybe it's a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But I think some of the more quote unquote conservative covered call funds typically, have yields around 10%. We're just kind of using it as a rough number right now. But it's kind of cool to know that you can have a $300,000 portfolio at just put it into something like JEPQ or JEPI or QQQI, SPYI, or, a combination of funds that altogether yield about 10% on average, and be bringing in, I guess that would be, what is that, $2,500 every month, just passively. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. What was my point? I was saying if I ever get to that point where I'm ready to do that, then I would look again to things like some of the funds I just mentioned. But I have no interest in doing that. I really don't. Ooh, Trevon, great question about selling stocks. I'm going to come back to this one because I want to get to some of the stocks on the list. But great question. Let's see. I'm almost caught up, guys. Just a couple minutes behind. Couple minutes. Okay. So we're caught up. So let's jump over, guys. We've got, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 stocks that we're going to check out. The first one is CME Group. Joe wants us to look that one up. So we'll check that out. We're going to jump back over here to Snap Stock. And CME is right over here. So first things first, they've had a pretty solid year, right? I mean, up 16.6%. Snap scores decent, average, decent growth, really strong margins, great debt situation. Dividends and buybacks are pretty low. So is capital efficiency. But let's scroll down and see what we're up against here. So this looks pretty good. I mean, starting here with the growth charts, for the most part, straight up and to the right. Revenue's growing pretty moderately across the last 10 years, 7%. Pretty decent. I'll take that. Earnings per share growing a bit faster. Free cash flow per share growing a bit faster. So I like all of these charts right here. This looks really good. And if we scroll down looking at the margins, I mean, very high gross margins, like almost 90%. So that's great. I mean, actually, from top to bottom, the margins are great. And the cool thing about the free cash flow margin, as we can see, is that it's actually going up over time. Over the past decade, it's gone from 42% to now about 60% in 2024, trailing 12 months, 64%. So, I mean, that's a great sign right there. I really like to see that. Debt situation's looking great as well. They're bringing in more free cash flow per year than they have net debt on the balance sheet, and interest coverage is very high. So debt's not an issue. Profitability is growing. Sales, earnings, free cash flow are growing as well. If this is correct, they reduced their dividend in 2025. But I want to jump over here and just cross-reference that with Seeking Alpha just to see if that is actually the case. Maybe it's not. So let's see. So we're going to go over here. Yeah, maybe it's not. Oh, okay. So that's what it is. So they pay special dividends out every year, it looks like. And that's why it's registering it as a dividend cut. So that's good to know. So, and that's why we got a cross reference. So otherwise, great dividend stats, 4% starting yield, 8% dividend growth rate, 15 years of growth. I mean, nice yield, nice growth rate, nice dividend growth history. I think we're looking at a triple threat here in the dividend department. So I'm looking at CME Group, and I truly don't see anything that I dislike. I mean, yeah, I think this is really solid. I would not mind spending a bit more time with this company. So what do they, this is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, right? Okay, yeah. Shout out Adam Kahn used to work at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange back in the day. Operates contracts. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. Okay. I'm glad that we looked at that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump back over here, guys. What do we have next? So that was CME. Scott now wants us to look at ECL, which is Ecolab. Yes. Let's look at Ecolab. Back over here. ECL. Hide the comment. All right. All right. I got to stop before I get stuck. So Ecolab has also had a pretty solid year. Up 17.25%. Snap score is pretty similar to what we saw a moment ago with CME. But truth be told, CME deserved a higher snap score. But with this one, growth's 4.2. That's not great. Margins are decent. Debt's decent. Dividends and buybacks are okay. Capital efficiency's pretty strong. Doesn't look like it's at a great valuation right now. I mean, the PE ratio is way higher than the average. So is the price to free cash flow. And the free cash flow yield is quite a bit lower than the average. So the valuation doesn't look great. You know, the growth charts are okay. I mean, they're good. I think they're better than okay. A little bit spotty some years from top to bottom, but for the most part, the growth is up and to the right. We've certainly seen that since 2020. They've had a good run. So yeah, I think that's fine. Looks like gross margins are maybe kind of coming down a bit, or they had, and then maybe they're now starting to recover. But still, I mean, you know, mid 40s, low to mid 40s on average. It's not terrible. Free cash flow margins, you know, pretty consistent. Debt jumped up, but they have been paying down their net debt, so that's good to see. And the net debt to free cash flow, it's in decent shape. You know, in the trailing 12 months, 4.4, that's within our range. I like to see it about 5 or below. And then interest coverage is kind of like a little bit below where I'd want to see it. In the trailing 12 months, it's a bit higher, but all the years prior to that, the average interest coverage is only about 7. I like to see it around 8, but still, you know, 7's not terrible. So I think that looks fine. Dividend yield, because the share prices run up so much, the dividend yield is going to be a bit below the 5 and 10-year averages. So that's not much of a surprise. Dividend growth rate's decent, 8.25%. Yeah, I mean, it's well covered, mid 40s payout ratios. Okay, returns on invested capital. Looks like it's capping out at about 12%. You know, it's okay. It doesn't really jump out to me. I probably would sooner buy Cintas right here. I mean, much higher snap score right off the bat. We'll see that. I thought they'd come down quite a bit in the past year, though. Maybe they've had a nice run lately, but yeah, they had come down some over the past handful of months. It wasn't that long ago that this company was at a 52-week low. But I mean, look at these charts. I think these financials just look way better. The margins are actually going up. Debt's much more favorable. Interest coverage is way higher. This has the dividend per share going down, but I'm wondering if they also pay special dividends. Let's actually jump over here and check it out. They might. No, I don't know what's up with our, maybe it's the stock split. I don't know what it is, but the dividends kind of 6. Oh, that's what it is. They used to pay annual dividends, and then they switched to quarterly payments in 2021, and then there was a stock split. Okay. So that's kind of what that was, I think. But anyway, this shows the dividends all over the place. Really, it's really nice dividend growth history, 33 years of growth, better dividend growth rate than what we saw with Ecolab, 1% yield. So I would sooner buy this company than I would Ecolab, but Ecolab's not terrible. Okay. Do you have an opinion on EQR? That was Equity Residential, right? I don't know that I've actually looked at this company, but let's jump over to their website real quick, just so I can get a feel for. Okay, multifamily residential REITs. I like that. Maybe we have looked at this company before, and I'm misremembering. Okay, so it's an apartment REIT, kind of like Mid America. So okay, big cities. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's. Is there an investor relations for investors? There we go. Uh, News and events, presentations, investor update. Is this what we want? Yeah, this is what we want. Let's see. So occupancy is pretty high, typically pretty high. Upper mid 90s. That's great. And I mean, a lot of these cities, people are going to be renting I don't want to say primarily renting, but it's going to have definitely a high percentage of renters over owners. I should say renting is very common in these cities is what I should say. Yeah, this is cool too. I like the idea of apartment REITs, and I like the markets that these are in. And don't get me wrong, I like the Mid America, like Sunbelt region as well, where they specialize. But I like the exposure to these cities. Um, so yeah, I dig that. Let's go look at the dividend stats. So okay, nice yield, very low growth rate. Um, they've been growing the dividend for the past 4 years, but they've been making consecutive payments for 32. So did they cut the dividend at any point? Or maybe they just left it flat? Looks like maybe in 2021. No, 2020 and 2021, they left it flat at 60 cents per share. Okay, so that's what that was. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this looks pretty good. Actually, this is what I want. It's not a fast growing REIT by any means. The 5-year AFFO growth rate is only 1%. So, and the dividend growth rate is faster than the AFFO growth rate. So I wonder if we'd see that. Yeah, we kind of, well, I was going to say, I think we will see the payout ratio going up over time. We can kind of see that right here. No, this is what I want. But anyway, yeah, I like this one. I think this looks like an interesting REIT. Okay, we've got one more company, and we'll jump over to Trevon's question. So, Ryan, I'm thinking about buying Signet Jewelers, SIG. What are your thoughts about it? Yeah, good question. So, SIG, I've not looked at this company before. Um, Lowest snap score of the day out of all the ones that we've looked at. Yeah, so not great growth. Profitability is low. Yeah, but they had a good year, up 16% in the past year. Very high free cash flow yield. Um, but I'm guessing that there's a reason for that based on the scores. Yeah, I mean, it would lose me probably. It'd probably lose me right here. I probably would not explore it much beyond this. I don't know, just pretty stagnant. Big jump in 2022, but I mean, over the past decade, the revenue really hasn't gone anywhere. Earnings per share is very, very spotty, very unpredictable, very unreliable. Free cash flow per share generally has trended up, so I guess that's a good sign. Although since 2021, it's really come down. So I don't know. I don't personally see the draw to this company. Debt situation looks pretty good at least, so there's that. They've been growing the dividend pretty aggressively over the past few years, but I would imagine haven't seen the payout ratios yet. I would imagine these payout ratios are gonna look a bit gnarly. Let's see. No, actually, they are not. I was wrong. So according to this, the payout ratios are actually pretty low, with the exception of 2025. Earnings payout ratio was 110%. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's true, these payout ratios look really good. So okay, maybe I'm wrong. They're buying back shares pretty aggressively. But still, I mean, this gives me pause. Um, Margins declining, that gives me pause. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have much interest in this one. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be that interested in it personally. I will add them to the watch list though, just to keep an eye on them. Okay, so couple more questions. Let's jump over to this one real quick from Jack. This is a quick one. Ryan, being in Vegas, what are your thoughts on the Sphere stock doing incredibly well right now? That's MSG, right? Is that the MSG stock? Yeah, MSGS. So I've actually not looked at their stock. Let's check it out real quick. I don't even know if they pay dividend. I really don't know anything about it. Um, yeah, like you said, a really solid year. They're up 24%, very low snap score. I'm guessing they maybe don't pay a dividend. Well, no, it looks like they do based on this. Um, I mean, the company itself is just kind of whatever. The financials look kind of whatever. Um, so yeah, wouldn't be for me, but I am happy to see the Sphere doing really well. Um, they're really they are really crushing it. It seems like with the Wizard of Oz event that they have there or showing that they have there. I haven't seen it, but that's supposed to be doing really really well. Also, we just had the CES convention here this past weekend. That did really well too. And I think who was it? I think it was Lenovo rented out the entire Sphere for their keynote presentation, and they paid something like $30 million just to rent out the Sphere for their keynote. So yeah, pretty crazy. Oh, Sphere Entertainment? I thought it was owned by MSG though. Okay, so let me look at this. Oh, okay. The company was formerly known as the Madison Square Garden Entertainment Corp and changed its name to Sphere Entertainment in 2023. So let's check this out. Thank you for correcting me. Because maybe this changes things. Maybe this looks a lot better. So, oh, it's not gonna. Okay, yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, like you said, a really solid year. Holy cannoli. No dividend on this one. I mean, the company's not generating any free cash flow, but like I said, I'm happy to see the Sphere doing really well. It took them a little bit to find their footing, I think. And I'm sure that some of the events that they have there are going to be hit or miss. But like I said, I'm happy to see the Sphere doing really well. Vegas, it's an interesting time for Las Vegas right now. I'm going to be putting out a full video. I just recorded it today. On Tuesday, I'll be putting out a full video talking about Vici Properties, just kind of the state of Vegas, state of Vici, my in-depth thoughts on it. But yeah, interesting time right now for Vegas. Generally speaking, I'm happy to see the Sphere doing well. And I don't want to say any more than that. I want to save any discussion on Vegas for that video. It's a good one. I'm excited for you guys to watch it. I think you guys will like it too. I know a lot of you out there, based on what I saw earlier in the chat, a lot of you guys are buying Vici Properties right now. So I think that you'll really be interested in this video. And once again, that's going out on Tuesday. But Trevon's question over here, good question. Do you have any plans of selling out of any stocks this year? Let's see. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. I feel like I'm in a really good spot with the portfolio. Pretty happy with where everything's at. I don't have any plans to sell out of any positions. Excuse me, goodness. Yeah, I don't have any plans to sell out of any positions. I don't know that I have any concrete plans to buy any more companies either. Like I said, I feel very content with where the portfolio is at right now. I've spent however long now, these past few months at least, building out Watsco, building out Zoetis more, really loading the boat on Vici Properties as well. Those have kind of been my big three. Right now, I'm focusing on Procter and Gamble. And I don't know if we jump over, let's see if we can go over to my watch lists. If there's any companies that I'm like really seriously wanting to add right now. I've still kind of been chewing on the idea of Pool Corporation. I think now would be a good time to buy Pool, even though it's seen a crazy jump this past week. But Pool Corporation's, I don't know, this is where I get conflicted. Pool Corporation is basically the pool equivalent of Watsco. Like there's so many similarities between those two companies, it's not even funny. And so I think, I probably would rather just buy more Watsco right now. Badger Meter, I'm really, really liking Badger Meter. And they saw a crazy drop this sometime earlier this week. I think it was on Wednesday. I put out a video, but yeah, I saw a really big drop. We looked at Inner Parfums last week in the live stream last week. I really like this company too. However, I don't know. I'm a bit I don't know if I want to get into like the perfume space or the cosmetic space. It seems like there's a lot of there are so many different like cologne and perfume brands out there. To me, it just seems a bit, I don't want to say too, yeah, I guess it's a bit too competitive and I don't know enough. Well, how do I say this? I don't know that the products are very sticky. Like for example, I'm not a big cologne guy. I have some clones. I just got one for Christmas. My wife bought me like the Burberry Hero clone, which is made by I think Coty. I think they make Burberry's clones, or all their fragrances, and I really like that one. But I'm not married to that one. It's not like I picked my scent and that's the one I'm going to use for the rest of my life. If I find a different scent that I like better, I probably will stop buying the Burberry and probably will go with a different scent that I like more. So anyway, just that kind of thought makes me a bit wary to get into this space, although I did like what I saw with this company. Anyway, let's scroll down. I think Verisk is interesting. I like the idea of having something like that in the portfolio. I still think, where is it? Did I skip Motorola? No. Yeah, I did. I still think Motorola is really, really interesting. I'm still kind of doing some research into that one and thinking through that one. But I would say if I was going to add any company right now, it would be between Badger Meter, Motorola, probably between one of these two would be my top picks right now, gun to the head. Have to buy one of them. Um, very happy to see Old Dominion coming back up. I don't know that I'll actually add this one. Republic Services, still liking that one. Rollins, of course, like, yeah, but come on, Rollins, $61 a share almost. You're killing me. You are killing me. I need like a really serious market correction for this one to come into buying range. This one would be right at the top of my list, but in the interim, probably Badger Meter or Motorola would be like the most likely additions to the portfolio. But like I said, I'm really not in a rush to add anything. I'm just kind of chilling with current positions and very happy with that. So let's see. Yeah, this is a good question too, Patrick. This is something I've thought about. Would you go into an ETF or grow out your current stocks if you're content? Where would you put your power if not adding stocks this year? Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on that. And I want to know, let me know what you guys, let me know what you guys think about that. Because yeah, if I was to add ETFs, it would be in the taxable account. But I've always liked the idea of having them be kind of separate, like have my Charles Schwab account just be individual companies, and then I can compare the performance of that portfolio to like my Roth IRA or to the ETFs side of things, compare it to VOO and SEHD and, kind of keep them separate that way. But I guess what I could do is because I have a taxable account open with Public, so I could always put, money in there and start building out more ETFs if I really didn't, or more exposure to ETF if I really didn't know where to put my money. But I would probably sooner I probably sooner would just like put it back into like SGov or SGVT or something in the interim until I found something that I actually wanted to buy. But I mean, at the moment, if we go back over to my portfolio, and this is typically the case. There's always at least one stock that I can add to, feel good about adding to, whether it's Procter and Gamble or Vici Properties, Zoetis for sure. Even Blue Owl, pretty soon I wouldn't mind adding some more to Blue Owl, but it's not going to show it right now because it's on the fritz. But that one's kind of a large portion of my income right now, so I don't know how soon I will be adding to that. But I found that there's always at least one stock that I can add to, and I would sooner add to the positions I already own than start a new position. Um, so that's kind of where my priority is. But if there just really isn't anything, like if I'm really stumped for things to buy, then like I said, I probably would just put it into SGov or SGVT, unless I started getting bored with all of this stuff and just decided I'm not interested in looking at stocks anymore, or I'm not interested in adding any new companies to the collection. Then I would probably be more open to um, going more into ETFs, or maybe starting another ETF position in this account, or another taxable account or something. But I'm definitely not there yet. I will say I'm kind of I'm k- I've called it the boring middle before, where it's this phase in investing that you'll come in and out of numerous times throughout your journey, where you know it- it's not that it's boring, but it's like you're in a good spot. You're maybe not doing too much research, not keeping too close to tabs on things, not really looking for new positions, not really looking to sell out of things. I'm kind of just cruising right now in the portfolio. Um, and it's not because I've lost any interest or anything like that. It's just because I feel, man, things are in a really good place. I'm really happy with the collection right now, the collection of companies here, because that's really what this is, right? This is a collection of companies that I have an affinity for. And so yeah, and one, it's funny. You always, I don't want to say you always, but I'll make a comparison to watch collecting real quick, right? You guys know I like watches. I got my Seiko on right here. And you kind of go through a similar thing with watches where you feel good about your collection. You've got your solid rotation of watches. And you might tell yourself, I'm done. Like, this is good. My collection's complete. I don't feel like I ever need to buy another watch because everything I could want, I have in this collection that I have right here. But then out of nowhere, you'll randomly be scrolling Instagram or you'll be out in the wild or something and you'll see the watch. You'll see something that just sparkles, that just catches your attention and you're like, I need to have that. And a similar thing happens with investing in stocks. At least that's been my experience, where you can go through this boring middle. You can say my portfolio is in a great spot. I don't really want to add anything right now. I don't really feel like I need to subtract anything. I'm just going to kind of cruise and enjoy this downtime, enjoy this boring middle portion while I'm in it. But then something's going to happen. I'm going to be out living life. I'm going to be reading something. I'm going to be watching something. Somehow, one way or another, some random way, I'm going to find out about some company, probably through one of you guys, actually, is how it's going to go. I'm going to find out about some company and I won't be able to stop thinking about it. And that's happened to me a few times over these past couple of years. That's kind of how I know. That's kind of how I know there's something there. And I should take it a bit more serious. It happened to me with Clear Secure. It happened to me before that. It happened with Visa. It happened with Zoetis for sure. It happened with Vici Properties. It's happened with Watsco. All of these companies, I don't know, there's just something about them. It's sometimes you can't even explain it at first. But you're just drawn to them. And so that's kind of these days when it comes to adding new companies in my portfolio. And maybe this sounds a bit woo-woo, maybe it's a bit mystical, but that's kind of how I think about it. And those are the opportunities that I tend to wait for. And I think this is a great place to be too, because, you don't feel the need or the pull to add anything. Things are good. So there's no rush to add anything or subtract anything because you're in a good spot, which is a great place to be. Obviously, duh. But then, if you see something that comes along that seems like a fitting addition that's up your alley, then yeah, why not? And I think that's how the collection, or that's how the portfolio, this collection of companies will expand over time. It's just going to happen organically, and it's not something I'm going to force. And in the meantime, I've got a full watch list of companies that I've kind of been keeping an eye on. So let's see. What does this mean? What's a high karate? What is that? I used to do karate when I was a kid, actually. Not for too long. I got to like a yellow belt with a white stripe. Yeah, Cygnus, this is a good question. We'll get caught up in the chat and we'll wrap it up here. But now that you've been using Public for a while, how does it compare to Schwab and the other big brokerages? I absolutely love using Public, and I'm not just saying that. I mean that sincerely. It is. I would so much rather use Public than I would Schwab. And Schwab's been good to me. There's things I like about Schwab, but I have nothing but good things to say about Public. I've seriously thought about transferring my Charles Schwab account over to Public, but ultimately I'm probably not going to do it because this might seem lame, but my family is a Schwab family. Okay. When I was a kid, my parents created an account. My parents use Schwab. Everyone in my family uses Charles Schwab. And every birthday, every Christmas, we get it money specifically earmarked for investing. And my dad he'll either drive down to the Charles Schwab office or he will send the check in the mail to Charles Schwab. And it's that right there. It's that tradition. And it's just the fact that we are a Schwab family and I claim that. It's that right there that keeps me loyal to Schwab. So I don't know, at least with this portfolio, I don't think I'll ever change out of Schwab, but it's not because I don't think Public is better. I do. I have I don't know. I guess Schwab is sentimental for me for the reason I just explained. And with that said too, I don't know. I think I told you guys this. I opened up a custodial account and a 529 for our baby, and that's at Schwab as well. So the tradition continues to another generation. Sir Dude, bro, man, this is a great question. I'm gonna save this one for a future video in a newsletter. Um, okay, so I have a question for you. If you had to pick only one or two companies at most to invest in for the rest of your life, which one or two would they be? Cannot be any ETFs. Um, so let me think about this. One or two for the rest of my life. I think I've answered similar questions before. And in thinking about this question, I'm going to approach it so I can only buy one or two. Like there's a lot riding on these one or two companies, and I can do that for the rest of my life. I've got a very long time horizon. So in thinking about this, I'm going to approach it looking for and thinking about what's not going to change throughout the rest of my life. Like what can I comfortably, what can I be rest assured that is going to be around till I'm old and gray, which I'm really not too far off from getting there. But um, so with that said, a couple companies jump out to me. I think the first one is Walmart. I think that number one, people are always going to need groceries. Number two, people are always going to need cheap groceries. People always want to buy things as cheap as they can possibly get them, and so that's what Walmart is known for. Um, and so I feel pretty comfortable investing in Walmart today, knowing that it's going to be around for another 50 or 60 years. So if I had to pick just one, it would be that. If I had to throw a second one in there, you know, yeah, I don't know. I think I'll just leave it at Walmart. I would even say this is kind of an interesting. Well, yeah, here's another one for you. I think Republic Services would be up there too. Like same thing. People are always going to have garbage. Someone's always going to need to deal with that garbage, and that's where a company like Waste Management or Republic Services comes into play. I opt for Republic Services because that's who handles our trash. So, ooh, an Omega Seamaster. I used to really like those. I don't know. I've kind of cooled off on Omega though. Oh, High Karate is an old school clone. Okay. Okay, cool. I definitely would not have guessed that. Yeah, good question, Eddie. Is there a deep end being dropped tomorrow? I think we're actually going to drop it on Sunday this week. We're going to be recording with Spencer from Spencer Invests. I think that's still the plan, as far as I know. And just because of scheduling that, I think we're gonna do it Sunday instead of Saturday. But one way or another, we're getting a deep end episode out this weekend. Yes, sir. Um, yeah, Tony, that's a great point. Realty Income or Costco, those would be great picks. Fast Eddie, Berkshire would be a great one too. Um, yeah, Striper Kid, here's the thing. So ASML is a great company. They're a monopoly right now, but I can't help but think that at some point, at some time, um, that's going to change. I don't think they'll be the only player in the space forever. I think someone could potentially come along and create a semiconductor manufacturing technology and process that's like potentially way better than lithography or photolithography, which is the type of equipment that ASML um, manufactures. So, and don't get me wrong, that's not to say that they're not a great company, but I don't think that they will permanently be the only name in town forever. If they are, that will be the only case in history where I think that's ever happened permanently. Okay, guys. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good place to wrap it up. A few minutes over the hour. Um, yeah, looking at some of your other picks: Visa, Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson, Walmart. Yeah, Visa and Walmart. Yeah, I think Realty Income would be another good pick too. Honestly, even Vici, like I feel, I don't know. The world's a crazy place, and so many unexpected things could happen. But I would, I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to believe there's going to be a world where people won't still visit Vegas. But anyway, or want experiences and seek out experiences. But anyway, guys, enough about that. We're gonna wrap it up here. Before I go, last question for all of you before we sign off. And I know today's Friday night. We've got a weekend ahead of us before the market opens back up. I'm just reading the chats. Okay. Okay. Where was I? Okay, I know we've got a long weekend ahead of us, couple days before the market opens back up. But what do you guys have your sights set on going into Monday? Let me know. Let me know what you have on the docket for Monday. What are you going to buy next week? What's the plan? What's the agenda? What's looking good? Drop that in the chat. I'm curious to hear what you guys are thinking. Vasco says Watsco, sell Pepsi and Pfizer. Anders says F&F. There you go. Or sell F&F. Patrick going with SCHD. Tony, Amazon and Costco. Trevon, next week, Abbott and AbbVie. Nice. Korean Cardboard going with SPY, QQQM, Realty Income in Maine. Sir Dude Bro Man with a big buy next week, $7,500 in Broadcom, baby. Striper Kids going 50% VGT, 30% VU, 20% SMH. There you go. Yes, Fast Eddie, this was exactly the question. Tequila is... I'm right there with you, man. Tequila and stouts, not at the same time, but those are my go-to. Big stout guy. Love me some Reposado as well. This time of year, I tend to opt for more stouts. Okay, guys. Real last one. I didn't see your question. And that's the thing. Let me address this actually. If I don't get to your question or if I miss it, please don't take it personally. There's, sometimes there's over 200 people in this chat. Throughout the course of the hour, we've got sometimes upwards of 1,000 different chats coming in. I'm only one person. And so if I skip over your question or missed your comment, once again, please don't take it personally. There's just a lot going on and it's not intentional. So please don't take it personally. Okay. On that uplifting note, hope all of you guys have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble, and I will see you in the next one. You guys take care.